Happy February, everybody! Let's take a look at the first game of the month, Metro Last Light. Apparently based on a novel of the same name, Metro Last Light is very Fallout-esque in terms of story, at least on a surface level. After a nuclear apocalypse, only a handful of survivors who happen to be inside Russia's metro system have survived. I remember hearing some positive mumblings about this game, so it should be interesting. Let's take a look. Right away, when I was turned loose to explore the world, I found it interesting. I was able to explore the world and discover things for myself. I looked into a man's room, for example, and saw him rocking out to some cassettes. This kind of exploration-based world building is always very interesting, only possible really in games. But then I kept playing the game, and something just kept bugging me about it. And then I figured it out. I'm playing freaking Call of Duty! All the pieces are there, the severe automation, the helper who just basically plays the game for you. There's a part of the game where you literally beat your enemies by looking at them hard enough. I hope Treyarch is taking notes here. This is the next level of player agency. What's worse is that the game isn't even consistent about it. Sometimes things will happen in cutscenes, sometimes there'll be QuickTime events, sometimes they'll just let you play it, and the game does a terrible job of telling you which one is which. At the start of the game, you climb up a ladder and it's a very slow, arduous process. Then next time I touch a ladder, I slide up it like it's being greased with butter and anti-gravity. When the game isn't forcing you down Final Fantasy XIII style corridors, it has a habit of dropping you in a big box and asking you to find a random switch hidden somewhere in it. And now I need to talk about a major mechanic of this game. Light. Ha! Get it? Throughout the game you'll find a variety of light sources. You need to turn off the light sources in order to stealth past your enemies, and turn on light sources to protect yourself from monsters. So basically a major mechanic of this game is focused on making the levels drastically harder to see, all in support of hilariously bad stealth. I mean seriously, look at this. But yeah, because a lot of the places you explore end up becoming pitch black, exploration becomes way more obnoxious than it needs to be. This is compounded by a ridiculously unnecessary air mask that you have to wear that gives you a limited time to explore before you suffocate and die. So while you wander around trying to figure out what all the identical switches do, you need to watch a timer. The game has a fairly unique concept for currency, namely that they are a special type of bullet. These can be loaded into your gun in a pinch, but can also be traded for weapons and upgrades. I assume these special bullets are powerful. I wouldn't really know because I always had plenty of ammo, since I spend most of my time using melee attacks on guards. Speaking of melee attacks, those have a habit of just randomly not working. Not that it matters much in this game. The game has two types of terrible AI: incredibly stupid and insanely alert. When it's dark, you can literally rub up against someone and they won't notice you. When it's light out, they'll notice you for seemingly no reason. And if you're trying to be stealthy and an enemy discovers an enemy you've taken down, you might as well just quit and restart at that point, because every guard in the level is going to start flailing around the entire map at random and never stop. Though if you run past that, it seems to work out fine. Graphically, this game is a mess. You would have thought a game about light would have better looking shadows. Some of this stuff honestly looks 16-bit, and all of the models do that awkward thing where their bodies move around too much, staring blankly into no particular direction. And yet there's these downright beautiful effects that can be applied to your air mask. The broken glass reflects so realistically, the water looks downright amazing and reflects the fire and whatnot. It's incredible. It feels like they turned down the graphics on everything else just to have those effects. Now, a game like this, flaws and all, could be great, with a good enough story, but it's not really anything I haven't seen before in another post-apocalypse story. Fights over resources, society not being as pretty as we thought it was. The game wasn't even polite enough to give us an allegory for the Nazis and instead just uses the literal Nazis as the enemy. And with all this build-up, they don't even have the decency to make Hitler the villain. He's the best part about the Nazis, I mean, come on. There's also some random bit about aliens. Seems really out of place. I think the story could do without it. Really, the best thing I can say is that the guns have a pretty satisfying feel to them. Each bullet fired seems to carry significant weight and impact. This is probably because they're meant to be scarce, but as I said, I didn't have much trouble finding them. That probably is fixed on higher difficulties though. The feel of the weapons really did help make the fairly boring combat a lot more interesting for a lot longer than I thought it would though. All in all, this game was a pretty severe disappointment. This game is basically a poor man's Call of Duty without the James Bond style fun, or a poor man's Fallout with a less interesting world, or a post-apocalyptic Crisis 3. One way or another, I don't know who this is aimed at, and I don't know who I'd recommend it to. Thanks for watching. I tried something a little different with this video. Better? Worse? If you want more, you can check out January's videos about Bioshock Infinite, DMC Devil May Cry, and Brothers Tale of Two Sons. And if you like this video, you should subscribe to Royal Blue. It really helps them out.